Hey there, fellow horse lovers, and welcome to the very first episode of the Daily Ride podcast. I'm Morgan, your host, and I couldn't be more excited to have you join me on this journey where we dive deeply into everything horses, from horsemanship to equine therapy and everything in between. Whether you're a seasoned rider, new to horse ownership, or simply curious about the incredible bond that we can share between humans and horses, this podcast will have something for you. We are going to talk about what it means to be a rider, the joys and challenges of owning a horse, and we'll explore fascinating new research on equine learning and cognition, as well as the benefits and experiences of equine-assisted learning and equine therapy. Horses have an incredible ability to help us through trauma, anxiety, and stress, and equine therapy is changing lives in really powerful ways, including my own. I'm passionate about sharing these stories, my stories, and then stories of those in my community and my herd. And I'm passionate about spreading awareness of the impact that horses can have on our mental and emotional well-being. So let me give you a little preview of what to expect in coming episodes. I plan to talk about the latest research in the equine world, especially when it comes to learning, personality, and behavior in humans and horses and our relationship to each other. How to introduce trick training in your routine and your training with your horse to help deepen your bond and strengthen communication. Tips for responsible horse ownership and care that goes into keeping your horse healthy and happy, both mind, body, and spirit. And of course, I'd love to dive into the life-changing power of equine-assisted learning and equine healing and how it's helped with my own personal trauma recovery and how horses can teach us more than we ever imagined that we knew about ourselves, about trust, about leadership, about communication, healing, and resilience. This podcast proudly supports my nonprofit called True Heart Healing. True Heart Healing's mission is to leverage the healing power of equine partnership and the joy of equine companionship to support and empower children with disabilities and/or life-altering illness, service members, veterans, and their families to build stabilizing relationships, facilitate learning and personal growth, find hope, and discover purpose. My horse, True Heart, is being specially trained to assist in this therapeutic process, and it's been amazing to see the transformation that's happened both with her and with myself. We rely on donations to keep this program running and heading towards our mission. So if you feel so inspired, I'll be sharing more details on how you can help support our mission by donating at the end of this episode and in the show notes. Now, to get things started today, I want to take you through a little bit of my own background with how I fell in love with horses and the moment I knew that I wanted to work with them to provide healing for others who also might need it like I did. This passion has since evolved into the creation of True Heart Healing. But before then, horses were my constant companion, my teacher, and in so many ways, my own healers. So I hope to share some of that magic with you through this podcast. There's a quote I heard once saying something like, "A good horse can change your life, but a truly great horse will define it." And I found this to be incredibly true since I've been blessed with two remarkable and truly great mares in my life, Amazing Grace and True Heart. These horses have shown me profound love, strengthened my resilience, and are responsible for my own healing. In order to adequately express the importance of True Heart Healing for me and set the tone and context for the Daily Ride podcast, I need to start our first episode by telling you my story of Amazing Grace. So I met Grace in my early 20s, and I was learning how to play polo because the college that I was attending wanted to start a polo team. I had no prior horse experience, but a friend of mine said I didn't need any, I could just take lessons. So that's what I did, and I began leasing a paint horse named Grace. She was 6 years old at the time, and she was far more horse than I had any business riding. But she also had this grace and forgiveness and wisdom about her where she knew exactly how far she could and should push me. And because of that, we became close friends and incredibly closely bonded while we were both learning how to play polo at the same time. that bond continued until I was 22 and going through my own personal annus horribilis. I graduated college, got married, and 2 months after, my husband committed suicide. It completely shattered me. I was overwhelmed with this sense of grief and guilt almost, which I think now I can recognize as a pretty common sign of people who survive suicide of a loved one. I blamed myself for not seeing the signs or not being able to help, even if I had. And I didn't really recognize or know myself, and I certainly didn't know how to ask for help. But I was still responsible for taking care of Grace during that time, and I'm so grateful for it. At the time, I thought I was taking care of her, but I think in reality, she was taking care of me. And it was such a blessing that I still had her as a responsibility during that time. She was so good at just providing me with peace and anchoring me in reality and giving me permission to feel everything that I was feeling. I would drive up to see her. At the time, I was teaching in Colorado Springs, and I would drive up to Denver to see her where she was boarded and just eat dinner with her and listen to her chew. On the weekends, we would go for a ride, and she would either just, again, give me the space to just break down and cry and experience grief without being alone and without judgment. Or she knew the right time to act up and do something silly. So I'd get out of my head and have to correct her. And I had no idea at the time that she was really helping to facilitate my healing and ensure that I always knew how to love and stay connected with others. And once I got through that, I recognized it then. And I am so grateful that I had Grace during that time. Grace, her barn name was Grace. And, years later, I was still connected with Grace, and she ended up injuring herself and getting put in a stall across from another woman who participates in the Remount Foundation, which is an equine assisted healing and therapeutic nonprofit, just like True Heart Healing, based on the Air Force Academy, providing suicide prevention and helping people transition and really generate stabilizing connections and relationships through working with horses. And I thought, what a great thing for Grace and I to get involved with, since that is exactly what Grace did for me. And so through that, Grace and I both were trained. We got certified to work with children together. She helped me with a lot of the adult warriors, we call them. And it was such an incredible experience to be able to share that healing sanctuary that I found in Grace with other people that need it too. And we all started calling her Amazing Grace because she is amazing. But also, growing up, I always sang Amazing Grace in church. Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. She saved me. I know that she saved, or at least had a huge impact on other people that needed her too. And so that was just her name. Years later, I discovered her registered name actually was Amazing Grace. And every time I think about this or tell this story, I get goosebumps because I think it speaks to the spiritual power that horses have in our lives, that somehow, some way, she was able to tell me what her name was before I even knew that I knew. And I think that's very demonstrative of what horses are capable of. I think they exist partly in the spirit world, and it's part of what gives them the incredible emotional power to be able to help heal us when we are not able to heal ourselves. So that is the legacy upon which True Heart Healing is founded. I don't own Grace. I like to say Grace owns me. I still consider her my heart horse. When people ask me about Grace and True, my horse, I say Grace is my heart, but True is my joy. So True is my own horse. I bought her when she was 2. At the time I'm recording this podcast, it's October 2024. True's birthday is end of May, so she is halfway through being 4 years old, and it shows sometimes. But she is everything that I learned from Grace and more. She's definitely her own horse. She is what I would call a left brain introvert, and so when I got her, it took a lot of effort to develop our relationship and our connection and our communication because she, like me, spends a lot of time in her head. She's very introverted. I can tell She loves learning new things, but she needs to take in the new information, and then you kind of see her go internal and process before she comes up with another idea or something to try with you. So learning that communication and developing that relationship and investing a ton of time in her training has really been focused along the lines of developing a good working relationship with her. And I think that is what is going to make her so powerful in True Heart Healing, because True is an excellent communicator. If that's a hard no, or I'm not upset about it, but you crossed a boundary, or heck yes, or I'm excited, or I don't like this, she is unabashed about communicating her opinion about things. And I so admire that about her. And I think it sets a great example for communicating honestly and clearly while still remaining in connection and remaining in relationship with the rest of your herd, the rest of your community. So all the training that I've been doing with True Heart has been focused on her skills that will be necessary in providing equine therapy, whether that is, bomb-proofing her. I swear she's probably so sick of me at this point, just bringing out random stuff to do with her. I can just feel her rolling her eyes at me sometimes, where I pull out, some obnoxious baby toy or a hula hoop or huge tarps or make her wear silly things. So bomb-proofing, so she is not skittish and not easily flustered or flappable when unexpected behaviors or circumstances arise when we're working with clients. But we also focus a lot on developing her top line and her posture so that she can be strong and healthy and ride in good form, both for herself and for her rider. When we're doing therapy. This is especially important if we work with children who are sitting on her back in front of me. That's an additional load that it's important that she knows biomechanically how she should move and carry herself so she can remain strong and healthy and free from injury, and safe to ride. So we are early on in our training journey, but there has been so much that I have learned from working with True, building upon the amazing gifts that Grace had given me. And I am so excited to be part of this podcast to share some of those stories and lessons and little gems of knowledge that we've uncovered along the way, and hopefully invite others in my community and my herd to come speak and share conversations about these topics as well. So thank you for being here with me today on this first episode of the Daily Ride podcast. I'm very excited to connect and share with all of you. These two mares that I've had in my life have really shaped me into who I am today, a better horseman, a more loving human being, someone who is more present and self-aware and more equipped to be able to connect in meaningful and healing ways with other people. And I am just thrilled that I have the opportunity to share that, or at least a part of my world, with you who are listening. So please follow the link in the show notes to this podcast and or visit the Daily Ride. That's www.the-daily-ride.com to donate to True Heart Healing. We are a nonprofit. We are going after our 501c3 status. Our mission, as I stated earlier, is to help provide veterans, active duty service members, children with disabilities, and our life-altering illness and their families a healing environment to interact with horses so they can benefit from this powerful connection we have with these amazing creatures. So please consider a donation. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you enjoy the ride.